the final round table, the final panel. And it's a huge pleasure to make this moderation and be with all our guest speakers all together. So regarding with this panel and this moderation, I will ask all of you to present yourselves, okay, in 1 minute, and then I will start the round of questions, more or less 2 questions for each other. So I'll start with Luísa.
Thanks, Clara.
You're welcome.
Just a presentation. My name is Luísa Ribeiro, and I'm the chair of .pt, the Registry of Portugal. And I'm also the general coordinator of FinCodes 2020-30.
Thank you, Luísa. Probably Pedro?
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Pedro Cunha. I'm the director at the Gulbenkian Foundation. I'm responsible for the education and the health department. And I've been working at the education sector for the last 25 years and still believe in education.
Thank you, Pedro. Manuel?
Hi, hello. My name is Manuel Carvalho. I'm the editor of the Público newspaper based in Lisbon and Porto. I studied history, but I was a teacher, so talk about education is something that is a little bit familiar. It's a pleasure to be here.
Cool. And Ricardo? Last but not least.
My name is Ricardo Valente. I'm city councillor here in the city hall of Porto. I'm in charge of economy, employment, entrepreneurship, finance, economic activities, and monitoring. And I'm also teacher at the economic faculty here in the University of Porto.
Thank you. And I will introduce the other 2 speakers that could not be able to be here in presence, but they sent us a video. Cláudia Azevedo, the CEO of SONAE. SONAE is one of the biggest corporate and employers in Portugal. And João Günther do Amaral is also in SONAE. He's executive board member and chief development officer in this company. And SONAE is a multinational company with a diverse portfolio of businesses in retail, telecommunications, financial services, technology, shopping malls, and so on. I think that everyone knows SONAE. I will ask Régie to thank you.
Great to be here with you this afternoon discussing such an important topic. Unfortunately in video because we have to be away from Oporto this afternoon, but hopefully it's been a very successful session and we'll learn a lot about computational thinking. As a CEO of a company, the world is changing, life is changing at more and more complex situations, more uncertainty, more difficulty to forecast. Change happens at a faster pace, so what we need is boys and girls that learn how to think, how to articulate problems, how to think logically. So a very important skill for the future of our country and of all countries. We all have to be problem solvers and problems that probably we don't know today that will exist in the future. So any sort of mental framework that we use to solve these problems in a more efficient way and bringing in more diversity, I think will be very, very important to the future. Boys and girls that are under 12 today will probably live a very different life from their parents or their grandparents, where we would study for 20 years at primary school, high school, university, and then we would work in the same company or more or less in the same line of work until we were 65 and then retire. And then life is no longer like that. We will change a lot. We will have to learn to unlearn and learn to learn different skills. And obviously, if we learn from a very young age how to do that, that will be a skill for life. We hear a lot about the future of work and how robots will take over the world. Obviously, it's not like that. I think robots will take over what people shouldn't be doing anyway, and people should be doing more human jobs. Obviously, it won't be an easy transition, but it's a transition that we know we have to do. And so the importance of upskilling, reskilling, and the importance of, if you're from a young age, you learn how to think in a different form and frame problems in a different form. I think you'll have a much easier life doing that and changing your skill sets according to what's necessary. The capacity to embrace change obviously is very important. Also the capacity to embrace diversity and having lots of points of views to solve the same problem will also be fundamental in the world that is really, really changing a lot. I mean, what can I say about the last two and a half years? After a health, economic and social crisis, now a war, these are the kinds of issues that kids that are now under 12 will be probably dealing a lot more with, and the capacity to solve these problems, thinking in a very structured way, is very important. And the emotional component, the soft skill, will probably make a lot of the difference in the success or not of solving future problems. Thank you very much, and hopefully a good end to the Congress. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I firmly believe that the introduction of computational thinking into the K-12 education in Portugal is transformational to prepare Portuguese students for their future professional and personal challenges. From the perspective of the biggest private employer in Portugal, SONAE, it is frustrating to welcome new employees in our company and feeling that they have no problem-solving skills and that they lack communication skills, especially when they come directly from school. Our world, like Cláudia told us, is all about change. Change is happening at a pace we never experienced before. And mastering change is essential for everyone in any organization. So learning how to solve problems, how to communicate both problems and solutions is crucial to navigate present and future working environments. So let me give you an example that highlights the need to promote the computational thinking within the K-12 education. At SONAE, we kicked off 15 years ago our Lean or Kaizen or Continuous Improvement Initiative, and we have been implementing these methodologies over the last 15 years. So we were pioneers applying Kaizen in retail, and we wanted to better engage our workforce in the daily operations, making sure that they feel that they are problem solvers, that they evolve the company. So in a nutshell, we wanted them to identify and solve problems continuously. And that was a challenge. We started the implementation in our retail operations with the support of Kaizen consultants, and that within a huge training initiative. During the first few years, and albeit the enthusiasm of our workforce, this was not an immediate success, because the workforce of more than 30,000 employees struggled to sustain the initiative and struggled to be able to solve problems effectively. We had initially promising results, but they were not sustained over time. So the problems, the solutions, and the methodologies were not clearly understood by the employees. After some time, it was clear that we needed a different approach to problem solving. And it was not common sense, like we thought initially, what a problem is and also how to approach it in a structured way. We implemented tools to help employees diagnose situations, solve complex problems with simple solutions, and improve their communication. So problem diagnosing tools like fishbone diagrams and 5 whys, problem-solving methodologies like the 3C, going from the concern to the cause and to the countermeasure to correct the problem, 5S methodologies to organize physical spaces, and daily Kaizen whiteboards and also daily meetings as communication tools. We implemented more than 30 new tools and trained our employees how to use them in different contexts. And with more than 1 million hours of training per year over the last 15 years, we were able to overcome what we found as a lack of knowledge from our employees and from the Portuguese citizens in general. So we were able to sustain our continuous improvement efforts only after teaching problem-solving skills and communication skills in that matter. So what changed over these years? What helped us sustain this change and this new methodology with continuous improvement that today is part of SONAE DNA? So first of all, the introduction of computational thinking. And we taught our employees computational thinking without naming it like that. So we started talking about problems as opportunities. We call them little treasures, treasures to improve. We learned that problems can be sliced into smaller chunks and thus made easier to approach. We learned that problems can be prioritized. We learned how to recognize patterns in problems. We learned that the same solution can be applied to different problems. And we also learned that when we understand the problem well, what caused it and why it exists, it is much easier to define the algorithms that will help us solve those problems. So we learned that, and we learned also that solutions can always improve. You can keep improving things that were already improved. And retail is all about problem solving. Today, we are all problem solvers at SONAE, and equipped with the right problem solving skills, we can transform the company and the world. So today, wherever we walk the corridors of SONAE, we see employees talking passionately about problems, discussing opportunities to improve and how to fight waste. They are passionate problem solvers. They use the right tools to solve each different problem. They have the right mindset today. Our employees are now able to turn a complex problem into one that we can easily understand. They slice the problem, they explain the concern, they search for causes and they deliver solutions. This is a skill that is extremely useful in their jobs and in their lives. For SONAE and for our employees, the road to get where we are today would have been much faster and easier if Portuguese K-12 students would have learned computational thinking in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, SONAE, for this participation. It was really a very inspiring. Those two talks were very inspiring reflections, and I think that the things that we really or I really retained from this those two talks is the word fast and change, fast and change, educate, re-educate, and I think this is probably not so compatible, the fast, the change, and the education, and the path that we have until reach our goals. So this reflection turns up to be more and more important, because we really need to go fast also in this education issue that is so crucial and central to our country. So I'll start with Ricardo Valente, okay? And with Ricardo Valente, with a title of Forbes notice that says the next generation of leaders. It's time to start developing your next generation of leaders. And the article begins with, today's competitive talent market is eating up due to the aging workforce. Some research indicates that boomers account for 31% of all jobs, and 56% are in leadership positions. These boomers are now gearing up for retirement in droves. This looming loss of intellectual capital has the potential to devastate companies that are not preparing emerging leaders to fill the leadership gap. And the question, or the two questions the question is, can you tell, Ricardo, us about what kind of approaches can be done in terms of policy making in a macro level to attract, to develop, to retain top talent in our country?
So let's say I can talk about the situation on the level of the city of Porto. let's say we in terms of the economic development of the city, we have put talent on the agenda since 2016. So I think that we are the only city in the country that has developed a strategy in terms of talent. We have developed a talent office on the City Hall, basically understanding that cities are places of human beings. So basically that's the basis of a city. And most of the time when people talk about cities, they talk about everything, but they don't talk about people most of the time. And the first thing that we have tried to develop is a system where you can go to the city of Porto and have a map of talent. Just like you have the map of the streets, you have the map of the buildings, you should have a map of talent. So, and we will present that in the next month of April. So basically in 1 month we will present that. So we will be the first city in the country, I think, to have this map of talent presented. Okay, and basically saying this and why we have made it, because we want to regain the leadership in terms of economic development of the country. We have a fantastic university. We feel that we have the factory, so we have the factory of talent, and it's not just here in Porto. We are fortunate to be between Aveiro and Braga, and so I think that we are on a central position in terms of the city to build value through this talent, this massive pool of talent that we have between Aveiro and Braga. And we have started to develop, let's say, basically 3 steps. 1, attracting talent. And we have done it, position the city, let's say, developing a brand strategy. I know that certain people don't like the term that we see the city as a business, but I think that the city is a business. A lot of businesses, of course, and the businesses, it's not something wrong, it's good. It depends what you do with the business at the end. So we have rebranded the city. We have engaged in a place marketing strategy, position the city, and basically saying to people that you in the city of Porto, you can build a career, first thing. Second, you can build a family, second thing. Third thing, you can turn off. So basically, you can have life outside family and outside career, outside business. So it means an holistic view of the city where you are able to attract the best talent that you can find in the world. That's let's say the mantra. And I think that we have been quite successful in achieving this goal. So now Porto is leader in terms of FTI in Portugal. So we are growing 13% per year on the last 5 years. So the level of relevance, the economic impact of foreign companies nowadays in Porto, I'm talking just about municipality, it's close to 21% of the value added on the city. So it's massive. Yeah. Right now. So we have more than 18,000 jobs created since 2017 until 2021. Only in 2021 we have created 2,266 jobs from these international companies here in the city. So it means that, let's say, I think that we have been able to build Porto as a hub of talent. I think that the big challenge that you were talking about is how we fight, let's say, the demography problem, because when we are talking about talent, you are talking about people, and you are talking about people, you are talking about demography, and we know that we have. I think it's the biggest challenge that we will face all over the world. It will be demography, and the way we think that we should treat this thing is position ourselves as a city of the world. So we think that cities will be the leaders of the world. So we have started the human process of building communities through cities. Then we developed 2 countries, and then we developed a supranational instance like the European project. But in the end, I think that cities will be on the forefront of building these new communities at the end. And we intend to develop strategies to get people in the city, foreigners or nationals that intend to return to Portugal, and we intend to develop strategies here to reskill and upskill the pool of talent that we have here in the city. Let's say, prepare the talent better for the future. We all of the time say that the future of the city is not a prediction. The future of the city is a political choice. Let's say it's a choice, but we as political leaders, it means that we should have a political strategy. What we want from the city, what we want to develop here in the city, and so let's say it will not be easy because we are competing with all of the cities in the world, all of the cities in Europe, in trying to build these strategies in terms of talent. But I think that we have a unique position because I think that Portugal is, let's say, it has been rediscovered as a safe place. I think that we are a very open country, very tolerant. We accept very well the differences. And I think that's very good. It means that we can be the port where people feel the freedom in one place. So I think that we have a huge opportunity as a country and as a city to attract, develop and retain talent. And of course, for that to happen, you should have economic development. So you should have companies here because you cannot develop, you cannot upskill, you cannot retain if you don't have companies so that create health, that are able to give you. I all of the time say that when people ask me what do you want from at the end of the day when you will be on the last day on the office, and it will be in 3.5 years time, basically it's that the young kids in the city can fulfill their dreams here in the city. And basically it means that I want the city not to export talent, but to export the product of talent. And for that to happen, you should have a very strong economic ecosystem here in the city.
Thank you, Ricardo. We will move because we were talking about cities. We were talking about people. We were talking about retaining people, people that lives in the cities, and that leads to education. And in this case, we need to be smart. And the next question is to Pedro Cunha, and it's about smart education. And smart leading is a broad term for education in today's digital age. It reflects how advanced technologies are enabling learners to digest knowledge and skills more effectively, efficiently, and conveniently. Pedro, can you highlight what sort of literacy, between commas, should we be teaching to our teachers and to our students nowadays? Can you give us some examples of effective strategies that we can use to support and motivate our students, our teachers, and of course our educators?
Thank you very much for that question. And before that, let me congratulate ENSICO and APTC for this conference. It's very useful theme. It's very actual. It's also very strategic for the development of our country. Well, I think Cláudia and João answered the first part of the question, which is the context, the VUCA, the ever fast changing world that we live in. I'm not going into that again, but let us remind what Einstein said about it. Einstein said that we can't solve the problems that we created with the same mindset that we use to create the problem. So we have to be bold in terms of accept that we have to change, we have to evolve. And when it comes to education, we all agree that, you know, education systems around the world are struggling. Some of them say they are even in a crisis. I'm not one of those that think that we have to reinvent the school, because this is the school that already brought us here. And we, as a country, we are a very good example of how the system really worked, because we overcame our necessities in terms of literacy, in terms of early school leaving, in terms of qualification. So actually, our system is quite good. The thing is, it's not good enough. And we have to be open to the change that we need. We need to change, you know, content. We need to change methods. We need to change spaces. We need to change professionals, the type of professionals that we involve. We need to change partners. We need to have more companies involved on the process of learning around the country. So this change that everybody feels that is necessary, well, we have to prepare for a reality where, at average, each kid that now is in a secondary school will have around 11 different occupations. This is a prediction from the forecast from the European Commission. So we have to stop thinking about a career, or stop thinking about a job or a task, or having a lot of deep knowledge in one specific area. We have to think on having deep knowledge in different areas. And this is where I think the computational thinking fits very well. This is not about learning math or computational thinking. This is not about learning English or computational thinking. This is about learning both well. So I think that the major challenge that we face is a challenge of how to balance depthness that we really need to go deep into knowledge with scope, which is to tackle different areas of knowledge and to develop literacies that are really needed in an ever-fast changing world. We need, of course, traditional literacies. I'm not going into that again, but also we need IT literacies very much. We need media literacies. We need information literacy. This is, I don't have to talk about the actual context to sensitize you on how important it is to have media and also information literacy. We need to develop world literacy, awareness about the world, awareness about realities around the world. We need to develop literacies around data, how to use data, how to create data, how to process data. We do that every day. So in a way, we have to be bold enough to remove the obsolete and to add what we need without losing the ground, without losing the foundational knowledge that is the basis for everything else. I believe that in parts of the conversation, sometimes we get into the phase where we discuss either or, and it's not either or, it's both, but it's both in different ways. And this is where I think schools are trying and doing their best to adapt, which is, okay, if we don't have time to teach directly all these new things that are piling up with all the old things, so what are the strategies that are we going to use to tackle the different areas that we need? We don't have to teach them all in class. There are different contexts to learn. So we need a more strategic view, I believe, in terms of education. When we think education, we think classroom, and we think one teacher speaking to 25 kids that are sitting, steady, and still for 12 years. If we change this, then we discover that maybe we have a lot of different opportunities to teach the necessary skills. So I would come to 4 key dimensions of content and of curriculum that I see or I foresee for the future. One of the first content, of course, is the basis, is knowledge. And as I said, we have to remove the obsolete, we have to add the new, and of course we have to think about computational thinking, programming, robotics, media, laser, 3D printing, design thinking, synthetic biology, So we have to create a generation of makers, people that do things independently of the area. I'm not just thinking on STEM or STEAM. I'm thinking in all areas. People that produce, that create things. We don't want kids to answer all the right questions. We want them to make the right answers. Yeah. The difficult one, the question that nobody did before. This is very important. The second big area is, of course, the skills that we need to use this knowledge. And João already mentioned that, and also Cláudia, the creativity, the critical thinking, the collaboration, the communication, our ability to express content, to express ideas, to express novelty, different languages. So there are a lot of skills that are not core areas of knowledge, but are key for success. A lot of evidence is showing that it doesn't matter, it really doesn't matter only what you know. It matters what you do with what you know, and with whom and how. And the third big area would be the character skills, or the social and emotional development, has already been said, or the 21st century skills that were already mentioned. Again, as I fully agree what was said before, these are the types of skills that you don't train, you don't educate them in a void of content. So regular traditional content are excellent content areas, academic areas like math, are excellent opportunities to develop these skills. I'm talking about behavioral skills, I'm talking about leadership, responsibility, resilience, adaptability, self-regulation. These kinds of skills that make the difference between succeeding or not succeeding. Longitudinal studies have already demonstrated that these skills are the best predictor of success, the best predictor of earnings throughout life, of health, of community integration. So in a way, these skills are like a lens that either can magnify our foundational knowledge, or they can hinder the use of our foundational knowledge. So it does not make sense to put all the eggs in one basket. So we have to use both, of course. And the last but not the least, the last area, which is for me basic of basics, is metacognition, is teaching people how to learn throughout life, how to adapt, how to criticize knowledge, and also how to be prepared to learn autonomously in different contexts, in the family, in the company, in the school, in the society. This is one of the areas that is the least addressed in our current schools. We are training kids for success in tests, which is not the right way to educate people to learn until we stop working, and even then we still keep learning. So in a sense, to resume, I think the steps that we have to do in terms of curricular development, I think we have done a good evolution in the last years. Schools have an increased degree of autonomy, but they need concrete examples on how to fill the spaces that they are now creating. And these examples that have to come from the evidence, the scientific evidence. I really appreciated what Bibi just said around coming back to basics in terms of let's use what we know that works. And we have a lot of evidence. Portugal produces a lot of evidence. So let's use it also in terms of curriculum development.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Very inspiring. We have a lot of path to move and to go. So, Luísa, towards a more inclusive framework of digital literacy, this question is for you. And first, the national literacy strategy across social and cultural life is a key challenge for educators engaged in helping students develop a range of literacies useful for school and beyond. Luísa, I think that you are here. I think that you are listening to us. We are not seeing.
Do you hear?
Yes, okay. Is literacy, in this case, digital literacy, a way to address the challenge of equity in education, something that is also very pertinent and addressable in those issues of computer science?
Thanks, Clara, and good morning, almost good afternoon to my colleagues in this panel and to everybody in the room and, of course, online. Before I answer your question, Clara, I'd like to say that it is a pleasure for me to share this panel with so inspiring people, and after Pedro Cunha, probably I do not have anything more interesting to say. Thanks, Pedro, for your view. I agree totally with you. But I must say anything. My compliments also go to Luís Neves, the ENSICO chair, and also to Rogério Carapuça, chair of APDC, whom I want to thank for the emphasizing the importance of digital skills and talent in these areas. I also want to express my public gratitude for the possibility to be a part, of course, just a little part, of this ENSICO project, whose classes I was able to attend in loco at the Escola do Cerco in Porto at the beginning of this year, with a class taught by Inês Guimarães, the ENSICO ambassador, who moderated the last panel. And I want to say to all who have not yet attended that it is one of the best experiences that I have in this role in code. I truly believe that the future will be much better with those kids. Thanks, Luís Neves, you and your team, and of course Inês Guimarães, are changing the lives of those children and make a better future to them and to all. 3 years ago, before my role as ENCODE General Coordinator, .pt recognized the importance of this project early on and became a founding member of ENSICO. .pt is proud of the achievements already made. And I don't forget the question, Clara. Yes, literacy and of course digital literacy is the better way, I think probably the only way, to address the challenge of equity in education. As you know, Clara, and probably some of the others, in recent years the motto of my work has been digital inclusion is social inclusion. As the coordinator of Portugal's largest public policy initiative for the development of digital skills for citizens, the ENCODE 2030, we work with public and private entities to the implementation of the initiatives to develop digital skills, ensuring transversally the promotion of all types of inclusion and of course gender inclusion too. It is all about closing the digital divide in, of course, an unequal society. According to the 2021 Digital Economy and Society Index, DESI, Portugal advanced 3 places in the human capital dimension as a result of, in my opinion, of course, of work done in recent years in the improvement of digital skills and the digital transformation of the government, of course, and public and private organizations. However, the numbers about Portugal, 16% of digital exclusion and just 4% of ICT specialists in labor market, shows weaknesses in terms of the population digital skills. The still current COVID-19 pandemic has shown how important digital assets have become to our economies and how basic and advanced digital skills sustain our economies and societies. And in the last months, the war in Ukraine, the war in Europe has demonstrated the fragility of our individual and collective lives. Education is what makes us resilient, and digital education is now a required skill for everyone. As Pedro Guedes de Oliveira explained in the previous panel, and I compliment Pedro too, ENCODE 2030 intends to make the difference in this matter and how in various dimensions of the life cycle. And yes, the first one is education. Education from the beginning of the study cycle. To achieve this important goal, in Code and the Plano de Ação para a Transição Digital, with the Ministry of Education, as Elder Pais explained before, have to provide all students and teachers with equipment and an internet connection. This is the first step to achieve equity in education. The second step is teaching, and starting by teaching computational thinking to the youngest students since the first level, as ENSICO already does. This project we want to take to everyone, every single student without exception. As everybody explained today here, there is no longer any doubt about the importance of these matters. It is important to execute them for an equal education. Thank you.
Thank you, Luísa. Luísa makes part of all of us, of the team, of everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So let's talk about media and Manuel Carvalho. With the inception and impact of technology in education, we are seeing a lot of innovative changes in teaching methodologies of educational institutions these days. Social media implementation is contributing to the development of the new educational system. As a pertinent example, students are frequently exchanging thoughts and knowledge with each other through social media. What can be the positive and the negative influences of digital media on education based on examples that you have in Público, examples like P3, you know, and you know that I know P3 very well, and more recently with the initiative of Público at school?
Well, thanks, Clara. Let me start with the announcement last week. The European Commission told us about the new strategic compass for our European political policies for defense and safety of Europe. And they announced lots of actions and plans and priorities. They talk about how to deploy troops from one country to another in a situation of emergency. They talk about new weapons, new arsenals, but they talk also about one strange and new menace, new danger for our societies, the danger of disinformation. What I mean with this is that the disinformation is considered by our authorities, by our planners, by our policymakers as one big threat for our democracies, for our societies, and for our way of living. And the misinformation, the fake news, the disinformation, it's very deeply related with the social media. It's not the fault of social media, but the social media created an environment and a very powerful way to spread the fake news and all that sort of dangerous and unaccountable information that is really dangerous. And so, as a newspaper, what we can do, our aim, our purpose is to publish every day accountable information. And leading with this menace that you can see literacy for media in the curriculums of countries like France, like Canada, even in the United States. What we can do as a newspaper that works daily with information, what we can do to help our students, our teachers to lead with this terrible menace for our present and more menaceable for the next future. Well, we created two programs. One of them is Público na Escola that you talked about. Other one is P Superior, that is it was think for the students of our universities. And what do you want to do with these programs? First of all, and looking for one expression of Luísa Ribeiro Lopes, we tried to create a new range of literacies. And we think that it's really crucial for the new generations to have skills, to have knowledge about how dangerous can be information and how they can choose and how they can identify what is accurate information, and they can know and they can choose between accountable sources. They can identify what is the journalistic ethics and standards, and they can also look for another sources where they do not have that kind of standards and ethics, and also to teach them how to be critic with the information that they use every day. I mean that you cannot read an article of a newspaper and less an article from or an information from social media, any kind of social medias, without to have a critic behavior to them. So we, first of all, in the Público na Escola, that is directed for young students from the first degree to the secondary school, we teach the teachers and the students what is journalism, how to look, how to find and how to use accountable sources, how to have a critical vision and thinking about what the sources told them, how to certify and verify the credibility of the information. I mean, we challenge them to be journalists and to make journalism. That's why we promote a national contest of school newspapers. That is very interesting. Last year there were 160 schools everywhere from the country that developed these own newspapers, and they presented them to that contest. But at the same time, we teach the youngsters how to look to the newspapers as a source of fun, as a source of another kind of information, as a source that of information that connect each one with the others, as a source to create community, and create community with responsibility, where each one of us have freedom of speech, but has also the responsibility of to promote the quality of our society, of our communities. I mean, being better citizens. That's what, at last, journalism is a promoter of democracy and citizenship. So, at last, I think it's a very interesting and a very motivational project, and we are very happy about the results.
And it's very good to know that in a Portuguese journal. Okay, I will move back to Ricardo. And today we talked about computing, we talked about computers. We research with computers, we create with computers, we communicate with computers, we manage and operate with computers, we defend ourselves with computers. What are the most controversial practices happening in education now in our country that will impact the workforce in the near future? with a close and deep impact, of course, in the economy and in the society? This is a very open question.
It's a very open question. I think that at the end of the day, education is the basis of everything. So I truly believe on that. So it's the most relevant asset that you can build is education. I think that we have done in this century a good job here in Portugal on that field, but I think that we still have a lot of problems. So I will try to get my idea about that. Okay, so it's a personal thought. It has nothing to do with, let's say, what the City Hall thinks about this. Okay. So I think that, let's say, I think that nowadays in terms of education and the impact of computers, and we see that on COVID, is that I think that people are very based nowadays, more than ever. So basically, I think that one of the most relevant things that we need to put that up front of education is the way we can collaborate. So at the end of the day, so I think that collaborative skills, it's something that we need to teach. I think that we need to teach how to build communities, because as Manuel was talking about this social media thing, so people most of the time they don't build communities, so they build people that think the same way as they do. So basically we are building let's say in these new ages and with childs and middle child persons, we are saying to them that you just need to be with persons that have the same kind of thoughts that you have, the same kind of interest that you have, the same kind of music taste that you have. So basically, and that's really a problem. So I think that education is very relevant in teaching us the differences. So I think that in Portugal, I'm very critical of the way we build communities through schools, because we don't give any kind of choice in terms of choosing my school. I think that we are creating ghettos in essence, because if you go into a place where you have poverty, you can only choose the school that is near you. So basically, you are not entitled to go to the other part of the city to choose your school. So I really believe that we should give freedom of choice in terms of school. I truly believe that we should give a voucher for people. And I think that, let's say, if we have private schools, and if, of course, and if we permit private schools, I think that we, as a state, we should give them the obligation to have certain number of clauses of students that they don't have the money to pay for going to that school, but the state should give that money so that people can enter that kind of school. So building that kind of inclusion between people, I think that it's very relevant. I think that the other relevant thing is that teaching quality. So we have much better schools, but I really don't know if we have the same quality in teachers. And I'm not saying that teachers are not good. What I'm saying is that we don't invest in teachers. So basically we are building schools. So we are renewing schools. We are investing on the hardware, but we are not investing on the software. And so I think that teachers should be at the upfront in terms of getting pay here in the society. So I think that we should upscale the level of wages that we pay to teachers. And last but not the least, I think that we should have on the school two kinds of things. So we should schedule time to reflection. And I think that someone has talked about that later. So I think that students should have 2 hours to reflect on something.
Yeah.
Open reflection. And I think that we should teach them risk management tools. So basically, we should give them the planning for the unexpected. So so basically, that's we talk about change. We talk about how fast the world is going on. I don't know if it is really fast or if we have so much information and we have so much knowledge how things are going fast that we think that today things are going faster than in the past. I don't know, really. I don't know.
That's a good reflection.
I really don't know. But I think that the question is the ability for us to have the risk assessment of change. And last, I think that nowadays we have a problem. I have read a book that is called The Tyranny of Merit. And The Tyranny of Merit is an incredible book by Michael Sandel, and this is a teacher of philosophy by Harvard University, and basically on this book what he says is that basically we are building very arrogant elites. So, and why? Because we are building people through this concept of giving credentials. So basically building this system of formal education through formal education through formal education, and people that are not on this process, they are completely exclusive in terms of society. And so I think that we should, let's say, not go so fast. So when I listen to going faster and faster as a good thing, I really think that we should slow a little bit, and we should think if this is the way we should go in terms of, let's say, building the education process.
Thank you, Ricardo. Pedro, you have a lot of sun around you, you know that we are really very, very proud of having Gulbenkian with us. And my question is very focused. Why is Gulbenkian supporting ENSICO's mission?
Thank you very much for the question. It's really focused, and that's the reason why I'm not going to answer it directly. Now, I would like to comment on the previous comments, taking the chance that that we have a municipality at the table, to say that I think that every liberal democracy likes the idea of and cherishes the idea of freedom and freedom of choice. I believe it is difficult to find anybody in a room there or in any room that does not like the idea of having a free choice in everything we do, including schools. The thing is, or my thing is, with that idea, and I have to say that I firmly like the idea. I do like the idea. The thing is, again, evidence. It's the facts. It's not the willingness, or at least my willingness, but it's the reality so far, is that states have not found yet the right way to do it, in the sense that a lot of different experiences have been made around the world. There is a lot of evidence, a lot of literature about that. And it is very hard to control secondary effects of that very good idea, which is, why can't I choose a school? Why can't students move freely between schools, between locations? It's a very good idea. But one thing we know, actually two things we know. First is that if we calculate the added value, the real, what the school adds to what the students already bring from home, if you calculate that, and the Portuguese Ministry of Education does that, you find out that the added value of schools does not correspond to rankings, or at least to the rankings that we know. If you calculate how much the school is supporting and adding to what the kids already know from home, or already get from home, then you see that some of the schools that are typically very low at the rankings are some of the schools that are adding more and more and more to the kids. So I think the question is not about having good schools or bad schools. It's much more about, and that's why I wanted to pick up this question, it's about urban policies, urban development policies. Schools are suffering and do struggle. They struggle a lot when they have 70 or 80% of their students coming from a specific neighborhood, a specific relocation site, where 80% of the families live on, social welfare. A lot of them are unemployed, etc., etc. So, in the sense, schools are suffering for wrong urban policies in the 90s, in the 80s. A lot of different countries have, they've broken down these policies. In Porto, I know, has done that already. And I would like to, to support that type of process where instead of feeding ghettos, as it was already said, you allow people to live in all the territory. And if you do that, you will not see those big discrepancies that we now find in school. Because again, if you look at the added value is equal, sometimes better than any private school. So it is to say that it's really municipalities and regions, the local governments, they have a strong saying here. Do we want to feed ghettos or do you want to take people out of ghettos? And is taking people out of ghettos, is it to send them to private schools? Is that the best answer? Again, I love the idea, but I'm not sure this is the right way. And so far, the literature I know is not really supporting that, not because of the idea, but because of the side effects of the idea. Coming to the question that was really focused. Well, at the Gulbenkian Foundation in 2018, we decided to invest heavily on emergent themes on education, themes that were not being taken care of. One of the themes I already mentioned was these 21st century skills. This is an area where there is a lot of goodwill and where we don't have a lot of evidence. So we have supported 100 projects in all the country that currently engage over 50,000 students from 3 months old to 25-year-olds, so in all the levels until the universities. And we funded 100 different experimentations and evaluations, scientific evaluations, on what works in terms of developing these skills. These skills are not something, is not a vitamin to a very old curriculum. It's not something you add on an engine that is not working anymore. This is something that has been embedded in the different subjects, in the different levels, in the different contexts where the kids grow and learn. So we did a major effort. We've invested over 5 million euros to support these 100 projects in all the country, building what is today the largest network of research and practice on 21st century skills in Europe. We are recognized abroad because of that. The second area, as you can imagine, was computational thinking. I have to tell you a story. In 2018, in December, I believe, we organized a conference at Gulbenkian on computational thinking. Some of the speakers of that conference are here today in the room. And they remember that the conference was a total flop. We had like 25 or 30 people in the room. We were expecting 400. So at the time, in 2018, this was a theme that people didn't care about. So we are very, very happy that since 2018 until today, we have supported a lot of different projects, and ENSICO is probably the biggest one we've supported. And today we have, an audience like we have today, and we have willingness from the educational authorities to include it in the curriculum. We have companies investing in this. So in a sense, I think we can speak about the mission accomplished so far, but we will keep investing in this area because this is the only way to come from, I'm quoting the report from Professor Fernando Alexandre that was published by the Fundação Francisco Manuel dos Santos. This is the only way we can come from made in Portugal to created in Portugal. To do this jump, we really need computational thinking everywhere.
Thank you so much, Pedro. And I will pass here again to Manuel Carvalho with my last question to Manuel Carvalho. As a political analyst and a very, very experienced journalist, I would like to have your vision about what is nowadays the big question about education and how media can contribute to a positive and impactful answer. And we are really, really late. And
well, I think that several times we discussed the education just looking for economy, for the economic skills, productivity, competition, and I think that this is very important because this is a driving force for innovation, for future, for change, for better change. But I'm afraid that sometimes we do not look as we should look for other dimensions of education, for the compromise, the role that education should have in the cohesion of our societies and in the respect of human values, the capabilities to look and to respect each other. And I think that we need more humanism, we need more philosophy, human philosophy, and less mathematics and engineering in the way how we discuss and how we look to education. I think that also that nowadays that as the pace of evolution of our societies, of the science the world is accelerating each time more. We need also to discuss and to look to education as a tool, a very fundamental tool to prioritize the role of information. What is information? What really is important for my life, for the life of my city, for the life of my country? How can I have my own vision, my own subjectivity upon what the state, the companies, the publicity, the propaganda is trying to tell me. Well, it's a journalist speaking, and I think what is interesting in your question is just to appeal to my feeling as a citizen and also as a journalist. Just 30 seconds to answer to the question that was here posed by Ricardo, is that the freedom of choice. I think that, of course, the freedom of choice, it's a very sexy idea. Of course, everybody wants to have freedom of choice. I want to have freedom of choice between Rolls Royce and well, let's say another car, less interesting. And what we also should think is that if every family has the same kind of information to make the right choices, and I think that we have in that discussion we have to consider what is a market failure and the danger of the market failures in the liberty, in the freedom of choice of the schools. I think it's a very, very, very interesting, important, but also dangerous question.
Thank you so much. Luísa, you are always the first. So the same question in 1 minute because we're really late and it's my fault. It's about your other hat of .pt as a founder of ENSICO, and the question is almost the same question that I did to Pedro. Why .pt supported us like you are supporting us since the beginning?
Thanks. before I answer the question, I want to return to the freedom of choice. This subject, I think, can be a new panel of discussion, but just saying that I believe that public school must be quality school. This must be our main investment as government, but also as society, by all of us. It is the only way to close the digital and social gaps and fight the social exclusion. Not the freedom of choice is thinking very dangerous sometimes. Who have freedom of choice? We must have freedom of choice. All of us have this kind of possibility. But about your question, and just saying that digital literacy is the ability to use information and communication technologies to find, understand, evaluate, create, and communicate digital information. An ability that requires both cognitive and technical skills. That's why maths and of course computational thinking and programming are so important, and that's why .pt supports this kind of project. As I have already said, that the last few years have demonstrated the importance of having digital skills in order to work, study, socialize, be with friends and family, and have access to information and entertainment. However, the more we use digital, the higher level of skills required, which includes not only digital literacy, but also leadership skills, entrepreneurship, innovation, critical thinking, and of course, security. This is not about doing things differently. It's about doing different things. That's why computational thinking is so important. According to the World Economic Forum, innovating thinking, complex problem-solving skills, and active learning are the top 3 critical skills now and remaining until 2025. This is about more than just education. Qualification, requalification are required for new jobs. Finally, all the new disruptive technology needed and platforms, EA, big data, cloud, high computing, cybersecurity, blockchain, social networks, privacy, streaming, mobility, sustainability are no longer just for tech people, but have become a part of everyone's life. As a result, they are subjects of learning that should be included in lifelong education and training. So we can talk about literacy in lato sensu. I think this is why .pt is supporting ENSICO. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luísa. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I'm really sorry for this ending a little bit more late than we thought. I will ask Luís to come to the stage to end our presentation. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Let me start this last presentation by saying a big thank you to all of you. Okay. Big thank you. So my session, this presentation was built on top of 2 main messages. But first of all, this humble thank you that I would like to share with all of you is to our founders, is to our partners, to our guests, to our invited speakers, to all the participants present and online, to our schools, to our teachers, to our master teachers, to our students and their parents and educators, and to our board of directors. Clara, Celestino, Rui, and Admar, thank you very much for your help. Now, the title of the presentation is Why Now and Ever, and in fact is divided in two parts. The first one will be concentrated in the why now. And the second part, I will play a little bit with these words ever, okay? And since we are talking about two parts, we are talking about something that is binary. And I hope that the presentation will end with a little emotional part, okay? So an emotional part that, in my view, will be the result of this binary message that I will try to explore here. So, first part is why now? And the answer is very simple, okay? It's because we are late. Sorry, we are not late, we are too late. And let me just remind you two things. In 2006, so 16 years ago, Janet Wing, which is a well-known computer scientist, wrote an article that is now the article that is always mentioned as the kickoff of the expression computational thinking. So this article was created in 2006. We also were always talking here today that computational thinking is a fundamental skill for everyone, not just for computer scientists, okay? And so this is something that was in this article in 2006. Our invited speaker was Simon Peter-Jones, okay? And as I told you before, this is an inspiration for us. And he started talking about everything, and he started the CAS movement in 2008. So 14 years ago. And so this means that, for instance, in the case of ENSICO, we are talking about our fundamental goal is to establish computer science as proper, rigorous, high-status school subject discipline. So this is something that is not new for us. This is something that was mentioned and created together with Computing at School in UK by Simon Peter-Jones. Okay, so this was the first part. And now the second part. We have an opportunity here, a final opportunity in our view, okay? And that's why I will now play a little bit with this word ever. So if we put an N or a 4 before ever, we will have never or forever, okay? And this means that if, in fact, we cannot succeed on this, and so we never have this, or we'll never be able to do this, then we'll have a problem, okay, in our view, a big problem. But if instead we can, in fact, do this, we'll do something that will remain forever. And so, everybody agrees, of course, no one doubts that we must do it. But in Portugal, lots of time we talk about doing things, but nothing happens. Why? Because here in Portugal, I don't know why, but we almost all the time think that we have all the time in the world for doing things. Okay. And so the answer that I would like to share with you, and of course it's precisely what we are trying to do every day at ENSICO, is that yes, we can do this, and we can do it. And we can do it right, okay? And if we do it right, then we will have the forever. But if we do it wrong, we will never do it. And so that's why here at ENSICO, what we are doing is final, okay? Is either we will have success or we will not have success. So, the opportunity that we have here, and that's why we are working on since 2019, is that we must do it right. We know that we must do it right, and we need to do that and this as fast as we can. So, and now, in order for you to know exactly what is this machine, okay, this organization, okay, that is every day working on this. So we have an extraordinary group of founders. We have an extraordinary group of directors. We have an extraordinary group of master teachers. Okay, the picture is not good, but these are the weekly sync calls, okay, that Professor Zonon mentioned before. We have an excellent group of partners that are with us from the first day, like Municipality of Oporto, Gulbenkian and SONAE, that were here with us today. We are creating all the contents for the K-12 program from scratch, but again, inspired and working together with our colleagues in UK and New Zealand, among others. Okay. We are, in fact, applying this computer science unplugged approach, okay? And that's why some of you already have our first computer, okay? We are doing hands-on sessions, okay, using Jupyter, using a language like Haskell and functional programming with kids in second and third cycle. These are our kids, and these are our classes, computer science classes. These are videos that have been produced by our ambassador Inês and are available at our YouTube channel. This is the result of our partnership with Público, and these articles are in fact already very famous and an important ingredient of what we are doing. This is our dear ambassador Inês at TEDx, okay, that was also promoting what we are doing in one of her conferences. And to finish, now we are here talking about computer science for all, okay, because this is the name of our Erasmus project. And the idea and the sentence that I would like to use to finish this presentation is that we have started this in Oporto, but in fact we are working from Porto to the rest of Portugal, but to the world. Okay, and so this is our ambition, and that's precisely what we are trying to achieve. And now, to finish, I would like to show you the result of this binary thing that I've been talking about. Is the best present and the best gift I can share with you all. Thank you, Porto for Talent, for this video, and also Inês for putting this video even shorter. Thank you very much, and that's it.